It's my great privilege to welcome our special guest today, Dr. Partap Midha. And he's the Director of Global Hospital and Research Centre in Mount Abu. He was, please come on up, Dr. Partap, give him, Dr. Partap, a warm welcome. Dr. Partap flew in from India yesterday, so we're first cab off the rank of a little bit of a tour of Australia. He'll be going to Sydney and a few places, the Blue Mountains and Wilton, and then he'll go to Melbourne and he'll go to Fairfield and Frankston and Yarra Valley. So we'll have a nice little tour. And my privilege comes from I had the opportunity of working with Dr. Partap for 13 years in Mount Abu from 2006 to 2019. And I came to know about this hospital on my first visit to Mount Abu in 1997. And I was really touched by the work that they were doing, and in particular, how they managed to grow with very little in their hands. And they've grown from one hospital to 4 hospitals. They serve a catchment area of over 1 million people. And so we'll learn a little bit about Dr. Partap's story as we go along. And tonight's topic is of overcoming obstacles, because I guess there's parts of the journey that hasn't been so easy, turning it from winning people over in the tribal areas and convincing them of the importance of healthcare and what can be done. And so we thought it'd be great to learn from your lessons that you've learned from overcoming obstacles over the years. And you started the hospital, you went there before it was actually finished and built. You retired at the ripe old age of 46 so that you could do this work. And we'll need you to just turn on your mic, Dr. Partap. You retired at the ripe old age of 46. And what I'm interested to know is what made you, I guess, sacrifice your medical career to go and live in a very remote place on a mountain, basically in the middle of nowhere? What was behind that sacrifice to leave your medical career and then go and run and establish a hospital from scratch?
Thank you, Stephen. We have been friends, worked together, stayed together, enjoyed together. And he was a big support for us. He really brought a lot of innovation to the hospital, particularly on accreditation, quality insurance, teamwork. He was, although being an English speaking, where most of us converse in Hindi there, he was able to catch up with us. And he spent long 13 years with us, and we are grateful to him. We don't make sacrifices, we make choices. I made a choice. And I was a young person when I had just started my career. It's a very interesting story. I was basically into patient care, primary health care, working with industrial workers. And one of these days, one of my friends who was acquainted with BK philosophy, and his name was Brahma Kumar, Lokik name. And he was walking with me in the evening. I love walking, and he said, Partap, you would be better organizing things rather than treating people. And that was in 1975, 74, 75, he said this. I just ignored it. I never. And then I worked in a village hospital for 4 years, was looking poor people, going to the villages, doing the public health programs. And it was very interesting. It was basically you used to enjoy meeting the ordinary people working in the farms, small shopkeepers, small people who work as daily wages. And I used to go to the villages. Those days, the government of India was working on polio eradication. So we used to go to every village, and then smallpox eradication. These two were the major issues. So we used to go to the villages, talk to people, identify patients. And it was such lovely. Then I moved in 1979, I moved to a bigger hospital, which is to Chandigarh, which is the capital of both the states, Punjab and Haryana. It's north of India. So there I was put in the emergency medicine. So I used to, again, it was a challenge, but I used to enjoy that. People who come with acute issues. And I used to, what I said to my friends who used to work, the first thing which I feel a person when he comes to you as a sick individual, you have to look at what he needs, what he expects from us. And that probably is the empathy and understanding his problem, where he comes from, and how fast he needs. So I worked there for 4 years. And after it was around 83, because I was working with the government, so they were short of people and they pushed me to management. They said, we need you in the management. I said, I have no experience of management. I had never done any management. I used to love treating patients. And they said, we'll train you, we'll help you. Everyone, all the seniors said. So I took the challenge. And then from 83 to 91, I was with that hospital. And we grew from 300 to 500 beds. The emergency medicines were strengthened. We started so many new services. But what I found was the most important thing was making friends. When you are in management, you need cooperation from every single person. You cannot work alone by yourself. So you had to understand people's needs, make friendship with them, whether it was a housekeeping staff or whether it was technicians or nurses or doctors. You had to know them properly. What are their strengths? So that's what I did. This happened because I was into meditation and BK philosophy since many years, since 1970, I was there. So that really greatly helped me to understand people and understand that what best they can offer to the community. So then it was in 91 when I was offered that in Mount Abu, they are starting a hospital and you should our managing trustee, Brahma Kumar Nirwar, he wrote to me, you pack up and come. Although it was a big decision, my parents and my colleagues, and I was still working, leaving the place. But then I gradually told my seniors that I need a change. I need to leave administration and go to a smaller clinic. So I came to a smaller clinic, and leaving that smaller clinic was quite easy for me. I could quit that as and when I needed. So it was in August 91 that I moved to Mount Abu. Yes, the initial years were quite challenging because you were to recruit manpower, you were to procure supplies, and all those things. But gradually the team was built and many people joined. This hospital is known as Global Hospital. So I would always say it was global effort. Everyone cooperated, everyone helped me, and I was very comfortable. I left nothing. I gained so much.
Yeah, I think people can probably resonate with it's not about sacrifice, it's about choices. And, some 30 plus years later, you've managed to build 4 hospitals, serving thousands of patients every year, and many of the times people that can't afford it. And you've built these services with very little patient-related income and very little government support initially. How did you go about resourcing all of these services? What's the secret sauce?
Well, the ambience of the hospital and the people who work there, their vibes make a lot of difference. We didn't go to anyone. We just started. When we started, we were just 30 people. And we started in 91. It was outpatient clinics, a department of radiology, laboratory medicine, all this was there. We were self-sufficient, but gradually, I would say, and then in 95, we added inpatient areas, operating rooms. It just happened. I don't think I did something. It was just his magic. I'll just tell you a short story. One of the eye hospital, which we started about 150 kilometers from Mount Abu. This gentleman was a physics professor in Udaipur University. He came to me because we used to go in the periphery, hold eye screening camps, do cataract surgeries. So sometimes I would go with the team and just interact with the people. So this person knew me, and then he came to me, visited my office, and he said, "We want to start a hospital in Jalore." I said, "Sorry." I used to call him Babuji. So I said, "Babuji," he was an elderly man, retired man. So he said, "No, you need to start it." I said, "There's so many people who would be close by, they would be able to do." But he persisted. And then one of these days, he's brought the BK sister from that place to me, saying that you need to start the hospital. So we started. Later on, I came to know this man sold his house, moved into a rented accommodation, and built the hospital for us. And he never shared that story. And unfortunately, he developed multiple myeloma while the hospital was being built. He couldn't see that day when the hospital was opened. He passed away. That was his story. And he left nothing behind, spent everything for the welfare of the society. So these are the kind of people who came to us. Maybe it was our commitment to what we did and the team which we had and the intention. When you have a good intention, everything good happens. The intention behind the action is very important, what we call. How do you do things? Everyone was doing with commitment, with small team, we were able to do wonders. So that's how from one hospital, then other people came. We started a trauma center, then we started an exclusive eye hospital. Then we were able to get the opportunity to build a home for elderly care. And then we went into education, started the nursing college. So all this happened, just effortlessly. You were not doing anything. Yes, you had to plan, you had to find the right people to do things, and then you had to guide them, you had to be supporting them and caring about them. There were hassles, there were obstacles, Sometimes obstacle comes suddenly, one of young students, he was living with his parents, and suddenly what happened, what he went through, he committed suicide. And our nursing college principal was arrested because he belonged to from backward class. And in India, that is considered as a very big offense. And she was taken as a case for abetment to suicide, and she was arrested. And the college was on strike. And I was in London that time. And I rushed back and I talked to the students, talked to the police, and talked to the parents of the child. But then, talking to them, supporting them, being with them, everything was resolved within no time. Maybe within a couple of weeks, we were able to resolve the issue. But all that happened in just a split second. This was a challenge. It was an obstacle. But only thing what I feel is you need to understand the emotions of people. It's so difficult. The parents are aggrieved. The whole student community is disturbed. And this poor principal was, we couldn't get even bail for her. She was arrested. So this all happened, but then these are the challenges you face when you grow.
And I bore witness to that event, and I can definitely tell you that it's the way Dr. Partap has just described it. There was a lot of stress and a lot of grief and sorrow being experienced at that time. So it wasn't a simple situation by any stretch of the imagination. What enables you? What's your practices that enables you to withstand that type of pressure and keep focusing on the goodness in people and listening? What is it? What enables you to do that?
See, I personally feel because of spirituality, you develop a lot of patience. And patience is not just patience, but it is expecting something positive out of patience. Patience takes away the pain of mind, your stress, your irritability. You understand ultimately good will happen. So that's what you feel. Goodness is all around, but some lack of communication, some kind of, even, if you have said something and that is quoted couple of times, and then you feel you have to own, you need to have a sense of responsibility. And that responsibility is very important. Whenever it happens, people expect you to stand by them. And you have to have kind of strength within, like when we feel the pressure you cannot do away, but you need to cope this up with your inner strength, the inner stability, positive thinking. And then, you cannot take anything for granted. You have to have various options available to. If one option doesn't work, you think of second possibility. Where can we go? How can we solve the problem? So it's being with a couple of people around you, the team around you, gives you a lot of strength. And then one thing which I feel I always tell people, that you keep doing good and you will know that goodness comes back to us, whether it is with authority, whether it is with police, or whether it is the district administration. They always need help from NGOs. So we have been able to make our place in the administration whenever they need help, whatever help they. So when you support them in their time of crisis, they are with you in your time of crisis.
So you talked a little bit about spirituality, and again, the way you've described that situation, I've seen you in many different high stress environments, and your ability to stay composed. And you talk about spirituality, but what is your practice that enables you to accumulate that sense of power that enables you to be even keeled through those situations? Because we all face them, where we feel a little bit disturbed by situations, or we're not quite sure what the options are. We might become a little bit pessimistic and are not looking at the possibilities like you've just described. What's your secret sauce in terms of what does that look like on a day-to-day basis to accumulate that?
Well, for several years, I start my morning with meditation, and I eat something. And what happened? Did it go wrong?
Not sure. Did that just go off? Just a little bit. Okay, keep going. Yeah, no, you're right.
It's working. So the day, your day, you start with working on your own self. I feel self-care is very important. You need to look after yourself, both spiritually, physically, and mentally. You need to look after yourself. So I start my day with morning meditation. Then I study things. I always focus on what I need to do better. Every day I try to see And, we listen to what we call the daily sermon, the Murli we call, and it gives you so much nourishment and it really strengthens you. And then I go to work after doing my morning walk and other thing. And the first and the foremost thing is basically we are all good people. It is only whatever bad or whatever negative is within us, it is all acquired. Naturally, everyone is peaceful, everyone is loving, everyone is cooperative. It's whatever traits which has come, if we say, and how you respond to the obstacle, it depends upon you, how you respond. And it is, I would say, the ability to respond comes with wisdom, with maturity. Everyone is faced with the same situation, but then everyone responds differently. But I feel spirituality, reflection, study, and working with your own self does help you in a lot of way. One of our friend who's a physician there, he always comes whenever he and starts his inspiration. He starts with a story. So he was sharing one story with me, Sachin. He was sharing one story. He says, there was we have carrot, then we have an egg, then we have coffee beans, and everything was subjected to 20 minutes boiling. Carrot became soft and edible. The egg became hard, but the coffee dissolved itself and gave the flavor to everyone. So it's like three different things would respond to 20 minutes of boiling. So even in the present day world, we respond differently. And it all depends upon our perception, our experience, our values, our maturity, and how we have passed through life. I personally feel, what connects us together is we are one family. We are all one family, and the love for family is very important. And it is the God which connects us all. And we are all big, unlimited family. So I always feel that we need to do something. The area which I come from is tribal belt. There are people who are, the community is known as Gracias and Bhils. They have no formal education. When we started working with them, even when we had to give them vaccine, we had to take their consent. We had to talk to them, explain, go to the schools, talk to the teachers. So all that took time. But the only thing is what is your, I would say, what I said later, our intention is to support people, to help people, to look after themselves. So we cannot be pressurizing them. We cannot be really asking them to do what we say is right. We give them time to think. We educate them, make them aware. Now we have a strong team in all the areas which we work. We have a local health worker who's supporting us. So it takes time.
Who's from that community?
Same community. We select people from the same village and work with them. It still a lot needs to be done, but education is very important. Not just information, but making them understand. During COVID, I feel it was a big challenge, but not even a single day we stopped our outreach activity. Our mobile clinics were going to the villages, taking care of the people and educating them, informing them, maintaining all the safety requirements. But then we worked.
Yeah, I think that the COVID period, there were definitely lots of challenges. There was the availability of oxygen, which was affecting hospitals and healthcare services across the country. How did you prioritize things and manage things simultaneously, because you can't focus on everything. How did you say we'll do this and not do that through that period?
Well, see, it's a question of you need to know your resources. We knew that we have the Brahma Kumaris at our support, so they had the transport facility, and then we had the staff. Everyone came forward. One sister who was actually looking after outreach, she came forward, and she managed the whole oxygen supply chain. And not even for a single day we had shortage of oxygen. In this process, we were able to put up an oxygen generation plant. We had liquid oxygen tanks, and then we had sufficient of cylinders. But then you had to express people, and people became friends. In a Buddhist organization in Taiwan, the cylinders were not available in India. They shifted cylinders, oxygen cylinders from Taiwan to us. And then, local people, local community came forward. We had never sought their help, but they voluntarily came forward. That was a challenging time for all of us. And some of us did succumb to COVID also, but then it was worth making the effort. We didn't lose anyone, but they had to pass through tough time.
And tell us a little bit about the community, the people that work at the hospital, because it's not just you that follows a spiritual lifestyle. There's a whole group of people. Tell us a little bit about the community itself, and because you have a role in sustaining that community as much as you do running the hospital.
See, as I shared with you, when we started, we were just 30 people. Now we are almost 300. And people volunteered. People were looking for an opportunity for service, so they came forward. But then these people need to be looked after because they had left everything behind and came. So in that way, most of them are meditators, but not all. We have professional people. So because the mission is clear to everyone understands that they are not here for any money, in the sense that we do pay them, but people do understand that this is a missionary hospital. This is a spirit of service. So we may not be able to pay them at market rates, but we do pay them to look after themselves. But the second most important part is to look after them as human beings, as individuals. We try to see that everyone is comfortable, everyone is looked after. We meditate together, we get up together, we go for meditation, we sometimes have workshops. In London, Janki Foundation, they developed a program which is known as Values in Healthcare, a spiritual approach. That program is not lectures, it is an experiential program. And we found it helped many people to overcome their difficulties. So likewise, we try to get together, try to see, and everyone has strengths, everyone has weaknesses, but we need to really support them and give them the opportunity to use their strengths. How do they really put in their best? Whether it is a surgeon, hospitals are very complex situations. At one end, you have the highly specialized physicians and surgeon. At the other end, you have unskilled workers also. But everyone has to work in a team. Everyone has to do his best. If although I didn't have any problem, but the place I used to work in the government, the housekeeping staff suddenly goes on strike, and they were raising slogans. I was a young, I just went to them. People said, "Why are you going to that crowd? They might really become..." I just asked them, what is your difficulty? Why are you raising slogans? Why have you just stopped work? And their problem was they didn't get their uniform in time. I just talked to them. I said, okay, this is the problem. This will be solved in no time. And then whatever little issues are there, I feel everyone needs kind of love and care. Everyone. So the kind of spiritual support we have from the Brahma Kumaris, it really is a kind of, I would say, a pillar for us. We are able to sustain. And the most important thing is it has to be consistent. You have to be consistently be making effort. So that makes all the difference.
Yeah, thank you. If you've got any questions that's coming to mind that you'd like to ask Dr. Partap, we'll have an opportunity for that soon. One of the things in the corporate world and hospitals and businesses is people want to be able to measure the success of programs. And how do you sort of measure success when you're working through obstacles, especially when results are not always immediately visible? You might have a problem and it takes you some time to get there. How do you manage those types of situations where you're working towards something, but you're not seeing the fruits yet?
See, success, people define success in different ways. I would say if you have a mission, it might take some time. Sometimes I wanted to bring in a CT scan at the hospital. It's a big money. So I had to wait long, write to people, talk to people that why do we need CT scan? What's your difficulties? And it really, people need time to make decisions. So success does come, but success sometimes takes time. And I feel when your mission is clear, and like they say that when goodness is there, people are pulled by those vibrations. Like I would say, one of the sisters, American lady, she was married to an Indian. And she suddenly, I was looking for, I would say, funds. And her husband was an Indian. She passed away. They had some property in India, which they didn't need. She sold off that property and came to me. I wanted to start, that was the beginning, start kind of a specialized eye care. And she came and she left the money with me without even my asking for it. So I personally feel goodness is there. People with, I would say, intention to good is do there, but you need to understand them, give an opportunity to them. And as regards success is you have to be very honest in your ethics is very important. The values are very important. I'll share one story. It was not in this hospital, in the hospital where I used to work earlier. In our operation theater, one of the patients died on the operating table, and it was a big havoc. And my boss told me, you go and resolve this issue. There was a hue and cry. I first went to the community, made them comfortable, and then I said, the most important thing which I have to confess, something wrong has happened and we are responsible for it, because a patient dying on operating table is not a normal thing. We need to investigate it, and something wrong is gone, which I accept. Now you tell me, how do you want to resolve this? One thing is that we go to the local authorities, the police, report to them, they'll do the autopsy, then the cause would be known. The second part is you trust us. We'll do the departmental inquiry and come up a report with them. Choice is yours. I told all the relatives. I said, you choose the doctor for surgery. You had faith in her, and she had all the intention to do good to the patient. But something has gone wrong. They took time, and within a moment they said, you conduct inquiry, and we are happy with it. And the whole thing became peaceful. I told them very clearly that this is a blunder on the part of the hospital. Something has happened, which we don't know at the moment. We need to investigate it. And then everyone accepted, everything peacefully happened, and it happened. So I feel in your personal life, in your professional life, you need to practice total honesty and integrity, and then people would trust you. And then people would really have faith in you. And when you work together, they say faith can move mountains, but doubts can create it also. So we need to have faith in our own self that we can do it. This will happen. This surely will happen. And it happens.
In hospital parlance, what you've just described is called open disclosure. But obviously in the Australian situation, autopsy is compulsory, so there's no choice. But I get your message about that. Honesty is the best policy. Thanks, Dr. Partap, for the different stories that's given us some insights into you as a person and your leadership style, and you know, how you started off the conversation when I asked you about sacrifices. You said it's all about choices. And one of the choices that you give patients that come to the hospital, which is quite unique than other hospitals in India, that you have both allopathic and natural therapies. Can you tell us a little bit behind what was the decision, what was behind that choice? And tell us a little bit about what is different in what you have at your hospital.
Well, you know, it's like when I used to work with the government, we had a lot of regulations. We had to follow those regulations. But when I came to this place, I wanted to experiment, and I knew simple things can make magic. So I started with homeopathy. I started with Ayurveda. I also introduced meditation into the healthcare, positive thinking into healthcare. Then we were using magnets for pain management. You know, not everyone accepts everything, but there are people who are seeking for it. Homeopathy became very popular. And then magnets, you know, which I didn't understand to begin with myself. But magnets, but the only thing is when a person gets relief, that is the biggest evidence. People, I know of a patient, she had such big stock of painkillers. And when she started using magnets, and she said, I don't need all this stuff. Please take it. Other patient left her crutches with me, and she said, I can walk now independently. Magnets, have been used for stroke patient. Magnets have been used for constipation, as simple as anything. So this man, I know this man who practices magnet therapy. He acquired his skills during the course of his practice. But his commitment, his love for the patient is such strong. He does it with so much love, and that people, I would say, half of the relief comes because of his love for the patient. The rest must be magnets. So it's like and then meditation, using meditation as a therapy. We run a program there, which is known as coronary artery disease regression program. In that, the 4 components are education, telling patients what is heart disease, what are the risk factors, what is wrong, what wrong has gone within them. And the second is counseling. Third is meditation. Fourth is vegetarian diet, and then combined with exercise. And we found so many people benefited. People who were advised bypass surgery, coronary artery grafting, or angioplasty, they could do away with it. And now we do this program on a regular basis. Last month, we did a program for diabetic patients. I think the patients, the way they live their lives, I would say the way we live our lives today has become major cause of illnesses. We need to address that. How do we really, what is our lifestyle? What are our eating habits? What kind of exercise we do? What kind of stress management techniques we use? Once that people do right way, I think if sickness can come because of the pressures of mind, healing can also come with relaxation of mind. So mind, we keep reading, and it has now been documented even in the psychiatry textbooks or even in the medical textbooks. The evidence is there that mind can do magic. And once you practice mindfulness, or even I would say doing everything with a full mind, mindfully, and things can change. If we look at today, most of the problems are, I would say, created by some or the other faulty living style, whether it is climate change or whether it is substance abuse, whether it is road accidents. Somewhere something has gone wrong with the way we perceive the world, the way we live our lives. I am for sure know that if we practice self-empowerment, if we practice a healthy diet, and if we have a good tool to manage our stress, most of the illnesses would go away.
So you talked about full mind. Often when we sit down to meditate, or even if you're a beginner, that challenge is there of monkey mind, busy mind. And for somebody who's on the beginning path of that, what's your tips?
I would say mind is like a child. The child has to be occupied, and the child has to be given something interesting. So we have to make friend out of our mind. And I feel it's a challenge, and you need to educate your mind, train your mind. I feel it's like conditioning your mind. You need to, whenever you start practicing meditation, you need to identify a particular time, maybe a particular corner of your house where you sit, you create an environment, you use music, you have some kind of reflection, like we do it, whenever we sit in meditation, we understand that our positive vibrations should reach people. People, like, suppose there is an earthquake and there's a lot of people are suffering, you can visualize them that they need help from you. And vibrations make a lot of difference. So I think you need to really give, your mind has to be made friend. And once you give mind a kind of a visualization or a story, and then it follows that story. Like, we do understand that with practice, we can become perfect. So they say that there are, in the Indian way, they say that abhyas and vairagya, some kind of disinterest in the worldly things and practice. These are the two foundations to make the mind divine, to make the mind focused. Like in Hindi, the word we use for meditation is dhyan, and dhyan means attention. So it is practice and disinterest from the worldly things. You have to choose what you want to do in your life.
You don't come across as a person, from all of the things that you've done, and you're working on a day-to-day basis in the hospital, that you have disinterest. So what do you mean? I mean, you are into it.
No, I'm not saying disinterest means you have to understand what is useful. There are most of the times we are creating thoughts which are not useful. We are brooding about the past, or we are anxious about the future.
So you're saying disinterest in things.
Disinterest, disinterest is that you feel, you realize what is important for you. What it really strengthens you rather than what weakens you. If you are able to identify that these are the things which make me feel happy and contented and strong and empowered, I need to identify those things, and I focus on those things. There's so much time we just goes away. And sometimes a trivial thing, there was an article in Times long time back. It said, it is not the big things which send a person to madhouse, but it is repetitive hassles like a shoelace snapped with no time left, which send you to a madhouse. It's big things, all we are empowered, we can cope up with big problems. But repetitive things, something which is happening on daily basis, you feel irritated.
Yeah. Like squeezing your spouse squeezing the toothpaste from the middle rather than from the end. So we're getting to the ends of our conversation, but I'm really curious to know what's staying with you from the conversation today, and if there's any particular questions that you have of Dr. Partap, because the topic was overcoming obstacles in challenging times, inspiring people to make a difference, and I think that you've given lots of examples of how collectively building that sense of clear mission and people feeling aligned with that mission, and that inspires them to step up to the plate and do things. What tips would you like to leave as people are thinking of their questions? Thank you. What tips would you like to leave everybody that would help them face obstacles that they may be in their life right now, or things that may come up in the future? What's your top 3 tips?
Well, I would say in our daily life, day-to-day living, we need to pay attention to our own self, what I call the ACE factors. Whatever is happening in my life, if it is uncomfortable for me, I need to pay attention, connect, and I would know the best cause, and then express the need for help. Sometimes we don't seek help. We need to seek help. We need to really find, the best help comes from the Supreme. But then there are also friends and family which can support us. I would say the ACE. And the other thing is we need to have...
You're saying ACE?
ACE factor, attention, connection, and expressing the need. Okay. ACE factor. And they have done research on this. People who are hypertensive, people who have chronic illnesses, they have less of ACE factors. They try to suppress themselves. Mm-hmm. And then the other thing is, we need to have sense of control in life. Never feel helpless. It is, even in the desperate situations where nothing can be done, at least I can accept it. I can say, okay, this is what has come to me. I have to accept it. So a sense of control in life, I feel, is very important. Many things would go wrong. Many people would be troublesome. But how I react to them is in my control. But it requires practice. It requires practice, practice and practice. You may not be able to accomplish in a single day, but you can make a good beginning on the first day. I used to tell during the early days of meditation, when I would sit in meditation, something would come to my mind. I would keep a piece of paper and write on it. Okay, I'll address it later.
If I did that, my piece of paper would be just full to the brim.
I'm just saying, there's so many yuktis, what we call, there's so many ways to handle things. If you go to a bookstore, these are so many things are available. People have experimented with life, but I would say you experiment with your own life. You experience what is good for you, what really supports you, what really guides you, what really inspires you. Sometimes music inspires people. Sometimes company of a good friend really motivates you, lifts you up. But whenever, I feel whenever you have difficulty, there's always a solution is there. Only thing is we need to seek for it. And one other experience which I don't forget, I met one gentleman in New York at our Harmony House. He gave me a book which he had authored, Why Good Things Happen to Good People. And before that, I had read a Jewish priest's book, Why Bad Things Happen to Good People. But I found, he said one message should go to everyone. And that message is giving should be our attribute. Giving and giving. And he said, when you help someone without any motive, what we call altruistic helping, that comes back to you. And now they have studied that the psychologists call it helper's high. Your immune system gets boosted. Your Department of Defense becomes active when you help someone. So that book, he gave so many examples. One study which they conducted, the HIV patients who were supporting other HIV patients, helping them, and they lived much longer. So it is, I think it should become ingrained in us that we are one family. We need to look after each other, and helping someone, and particularly a stranger, gives you so much strength.
Yeah, thank you. So A stands for?
Attention, connection, and expression.
Connection and expression. Yeah. I tell you, this was not rehearsed. So that's nice. Thank you. That's a nice memory to leave us with, and some great stories there as well, Dr. Patel. Thanks for really tapping into your really interest in this subject matter and different examples and research. Would anybody have any questions that they'd like to ask Dr. Patel? Yep, sure. You have people online so they can hear your question.
Yes, sir. When you mentioned three schools of treatment, three fields of treatment, like allopathy, Ayurveda, and homeopathy, but they all have basically very contradictory beliefs. Like in Ayurveda, they say salt is poison. In allopathy, they say sodium is important for body.
Mm-hmm.
So how do you manage these three contradictions and interactions? Thank you.
Well, everyone is a specialist in their own field. Like allopathy, we know there are shortcomings. We try to, I would say, if someone has a headache, we'll give him a pill. But if you go to a homeopathic doctor, he would like to listen what kind of food you take, what kind of taste you have, what kind of sleep you have. He would take half an hour interview. So it is basically, it's not the headache, but what causes headache is more important to know. So I think, and particularly in Ayurveda, I understand, they go by each person as individuality. They try to assess what is your nature, what is your prakriti, what kind of personality you have, whether it is kapha, whether it is vayu, or whether it is pitta. They try to see. And they even go to a length that sometimes you might even have to change your profession to be healthy. The kind of temperament you have, what kind of massage you should have. For even seasonal variation, they'll tell you what foods you need to take in rainy season, what foods you should be taking in summer. So every science has grown. Ayurveda has taken centuries to grow. Homeopathy also, a lot of effort has gone into it.
As per that account, Ayurveda's account, that salt is not poison for everybody because everybody is different.
I'm sorry.
He's saying that salt is not poison for everybody because everybody is different.
Everybody's, yes, I agree with you. I definitely agree with you. Every individual has a unique personality. Allopathy is very good. It is, I have studied allopathic medicine, is good, but because of the rush of time, because of, I would say, our bent of mind, we order more prescriptions and we try to solve the problem quickly. And then it's good for emergency, critical care has developed so much. But if you look at the lifestyle diseases, I would say homeopathy would be a better choice. Ayurveda would be a better choice because they try to correct your balances. It is your balances between the kapha and pitta and is disturbed. They try to correct it.
Okay. But what I like about that question is that life is full of contradictions.
Life is full of contradictions.
And yeah, we just have to work with it and live with it.
But every science has limitations, and the science is changing. Today, I have seen studying medicine, what was relevant when I finished my medicine it was in 74, my course in medicine, and things have changed a lot because science keeps changing. But your personality, your basic tenets of, in India, when we talk of the kind of content you consume, the content from newspapers, from social media, television, that influences you a lot.
Thank you. Any other questions? Yeah. It's just people online can't hear you.
I was just wondering, you mentioned before in moments of stress, like to kind of, I interpret it as taking a step back and looking at it and then working from your values and going from there in a peaceful manner. I was just wondering, what something do you say to yourself when you're in one of those cloudy kind of moments? Like a quick thing that you think.
Can you just repeat?
Sorry.
When you're in one of those cloudy moments, what is one thing that you say to yourself that gets you through that?
Well, when that problem, the biggest issue which I said when our principal was arrested, in that suicide moment. I was in London that day, and they told me, there's a case against you, and you shouldn't come to UK, return to India. You might be arrested. I said, I would like to go and help people. I changed my original booking, and the first thing which I did was I went and met the students. I think we need to take the problem head on. We cannot escape problems in this world. They might cause us stress. They might cause us anxious moments, sleepless nights, but we have to face the problem. We cannot run away with it. And when I talked to the students, and I had arrangements. I had called police also. It was there. But I explained them, I come to listen to you. Open up. Tell me what is going wrong. So it is like you need to understand that this world is full of conflict, there's full of violence, everything is there. But even then we have to think in a positive way, and whatever little contribution I can make. There's a story, and there was a big fire in the jungle, and everyone was trying to extinguish the fire. And there was a little sparrow. She was taking a drop of water in her mouth, and then was putting on the fire. And someone asked, what are you doing? What difference it would make? She said, at least it will list my name in the people who were in the Association of Firefighting. So whatever little, yes, we have to forget that what is bothering me. We have to think of the larger picture.
So one to answer the question, one thing that you keep in your mind when things are clouded is, what contribution can I make?
What contribution? I have to face the problem. I cannot run away from the issue, whether it is my personal issues. And I feel we all have potential within us. This mind is very powerful. And positive thinking good of your own self and of good of others. Positive thinking is very important. Negative thoughts would bombard you. People would say, why you are going there? You should protect yourself. Look at our firemen. When they extinguish fire, they know it is risk. They don't ask people, how did the fire happen? Who was wrong? Nothing. They go and do their job.
Thank you. Yeah, as I said before, I was there at that time, and it was high heat, and you were a firefighter. So thank you. We'll take out one more question. Any more questions? Yes, Lee.
I was checking myself while you were speaking, and when you'd say a wise thing, my head was so happy. When you say something like you mentioned, like a little phrase or something, my head would go, oh, lovely. And then when you'd mention that we're all a family, or you'd mention we've got to love each other, then my heart opened and I felt. And you mentioned that we must be consistent in our practice. How do you balance the head, knowing things, knowledge, wisdom, with the feeling? Where does the sense of belonging come? Because we are so driven by feelings these days, but they're limited feelings. Oh, I don't feel, that doesn't feel right to me. Tell me about that feeling and the head.
See, we have so much common amongst us. Whatever is different is very superficial. This body is a physical costume, and every human being, I always tell my staff, every human being understands the language of love. And if you give them unconditional love, you would feel that, okay, this man has done something wrong. He has hurt someone. He has not been pleasant to us. But that's okay. We have to accept. But love and care given to everyone, the conditions can be different. But I know what is my true specialty, what is my true nature, and I have to follow that principle. The what they call the paths could be dark, lovely, and deep, but then there's sunlight to come. When we look at the major cycle, what we call the cycle of time, you have morning, you have sunrise, then the noon comes, then the evening comes, then again the darkness sets in. But no one feels concerned about the darkness because we know the sunrise is going to happen. Likewise, in this world cycle also, there was a time when everyone was perfect. We called it golden age. Then we became little adulterated. It became silver age, then copper age, and then iron age. And now again, we know this is the time which is challenging, which is not so pleasant, but we know good times would come. But good times would only come when I make the beginning. I have to take the first step. Like when the things are very dismal, dark, everyone is saying, you do this, you do this, do this. But no one says, I'll do this. Someone needs to have the courage to just light a lamp when the darkness is dispelled.
Mm. Thanks, Dr. Partap. I witnessed moments where there were people that had stolen from the hospital, and everybody thought that person should be taken away, and they went for a while, and then they came back, and everybody said, no, you shouldn't accept that person. And you did, accept that person against a great deal of opposition. And your love made a difference. I saw that in many different occasions. So thank you today, this evening, for sharing with us your stories and giving us some insights about the work of Global Hospital in Mount Abu. Yes, and one of the things about 6 or 7 years ago, we established a foundation in Australia called the Australian Friends for Global Hospital, of which I'm the vice president of, and we've seen some magic. We've supported the eye hospital in Jalore that you were talking about. Some magic happened here in Brisbane where I wasn't asking for money, and somebody came to me and said, I'd like to support something, and I thought that they'd give me $100, and they gave me $10,000. And so it's that sense. What I really learned from you is to be really clear about serving people with intent and with love, and magic happens. So thank you for sharing your stories.
Pleasure.
So please join me in giving Dr. Partap a round of applause.